Do you remember the first story that was so spellbinding that it drove you to break the rules and stay up all night? To keep reading, keep listening, keep playing? So good you forgot your life and lived there?
So good that the moment it ended, you asked yourself, what next?
Welcome to the floor. Our goal is to take you back, take you deeper, to explore and understand more, and relive that childlike wonder.
Join us as we dive deep into humanity's greatest stories, no matter how they are told, through books, movies, television, even games.
One of us does an in-depth research on our topic. One of us is familiar with the topic.
And one of us knows nothing. So the right questions will always be asked and will be addressed for anyone coming into the topic, regardless of how much you know.
Enjoy another world, another adventure, another spellbinding story. Join us on the floor.
Okay, so we are doing another Dune episode.
Welcome back to the Duneverse.
Yes, that. We're doing another Dune episode, but this time we will be talking about the movie that we all just saw. So if you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers ahead. If you want to see it and you don't know what it's about, go listen to any and all of our other episodes to help prepare you for it. This is not the episode you want to start with if you haven't seen it yet.
So we've all seen it.
Exactly.
And Aaron's got a bunch of questions for me.
He's got questions?
Yes, I have questions. We talked about a giant novel for, like 6 episodes, and then you guys were like, all right, you should know everything. Like, what? No. Of course Aaron has questions.
Yeah.
Does the sun not burn your skin if you stay out too long? Like, Joe, come on, man.
So, who wants to go first, Joe or Aaron?
Let's just talk about
I do want
overall experience, what we thought of it. I think should be the start.
So there are two things about just the way they chose to present the Duneverse that I really liked. One is that in the first book, we never see Caladan. We only hear reference to it. And they chose to have several opening scenes take place on the homeworld of Caladan. And I think it creates this really good contrast to Dune when we finally go there.
And Caladan would be
the homeworld of the Atreides.
Okay, just making sure.
You see the green,
and they had a lot
lush,
of water.
Yeah, green, lush world. At one point, like a giant ship comes out of the water, just showing how much of it they have. Just that and then and so like I said, Dune. We don't experience that lush world. They just talk about there's plenty of water on Caladan.
But now we get a visual,
and I think it makes a really good contrast when we finally do go to Dune. And honestly, Dune has like 2 colors: sand white and sand brown. Right? Even the city.
There's some orange in there.
There's some orange in there.
Traditional third color.
So but I did really enjoy that contrast. And the other thing I really liked about Dune is that and I've heard other people talk about this, like particularly when you look at like Star Trek, we see this really high-tech, pristine future world, but Dune is dirty and gritty.
Well, yeah, they got that from Star Wars, right?
So definitely so, or vice versa, right? But I mean, at the same time, it's like they chose to present that world, and I liked it.
Yeah.
So I have a question, I guess. Emotionally, since you both are Dune nerds, Dunerites, like I don't know, Doonies, whatever the name is. How good do you think this movie was at presenting the book material? Like, do you think it did it like a disservice, or do you think it was like the next big thing? Like, where were you at?
I thought they presented it very well. They did make.
I want to hear it from like your emotional standpoint. I want to hear you like how'd you feel?
No, I thought they captured the world very, very well. And like, yeah, it felt good and true. And I think they did wonderful, from the combat to the technology. And They didn't make anything weird that didn't need to be weird, but they still captured.
I don't know why you're
David Lynch.
Yeah.
I don't know why your energy's at a 3 when you're talking like you liked it like it was a 9. I want to hear. Come on, man.
Well, okay, so I've seen it 3 times now.
What?
So
I'm just like, okay, fine. Let me back up. Let me explain. Let me explain
I'm in
to
an
you guys.
analytical stage already. You know.
Let me explain to you what this movie is like. Okay, I watched this movie this morning, and I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie. I'm just going to watch it before.
Did we
the
all
podcast.
watch Dune this morning? Was that everyone's morning? Watching Dune.
I watched it this morning, and I kid you not, I was like, oh my gosh. This is like as visually pleasing as Interstellar, but like the story is super good. I didn't like the story of Interstellar. I thought it was really convoluted and exhausting. But oh my gosh, like following the story from like that skinny like model boy or whatever, like and being a baller, and then like perfectly showing how the shields work. Like for someone who has no idea what those are, like they explain them without saying anything.
Yeah. So I like that the speed at which you needed to penetrate this shield was much faster than it was presented in the David Lynch movie. In David Lynch, you had to be so slow to get in there. Whereas here, we talked about it like it is in the book. Like the shield will stop a projectile, but you can do a handshake through the shield without having to, slow your roll.
Yeah.
And so they can actually approach each other fairly quickly with the weapons. And I like the armor. They were wearing armor because when you are only using melee weapons, that armor works, right? Like
I mean, watching it didn't work great.
But also it helps with understanding the importance of the Chris knife, the fact that you can just cut through metal with that straight blade. That is why it's such a powerful weapon, is even if people are wearing armor, if you have a Chris knife that, you
get through it.
Yeah. So if they got a Holtzman shield, armor, you shouldn't be walking around like a tank unless they have a Chris knife. And you're like, oh man. Yeah.
Oh man. That movie was very well done, guys.
So
I didn't even read the book, so I don't know how true it was.
I think this is one of the complex issues, and I think they had to do this for the movie, and that Paul is likable in the movie. He's a likable guy, whereas in the books, he's not intended for you to really like him, right? It's supposed to be this complex perspective on these charismatic dictators.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think for the movie, they had to make him more likable than he is in the book, because you're still trying to sell a movie franchise with a protagonist.
Right. Yeah, it's Western. Like you couldn't do that in nowadays time. Like that just wouldn't work.
So, yeah. So I think it was a choice that had to be made for the movie, was to make Paul more likable, because he is likable, right? Like he's a likable guy. So,
yeah. And I really liked that they didn't focus on the harmonics at all, except for with the sandworms, showing how the sand would liquefy. And
it was terrifying.
The part 2, which they're already going to make, which will finish the first book.
They did get the green light on that, huh?
Yeah, they got the green light, like on week 2 or something.
Yeah, did you see how well this movie did? Eli paid for half of like all of their income alone.
Well, he watched it on HBO, so he paid once and then just watched it on a loop.
Yeah, that's true.
He's watching it now. He's got it on his phone.
What'd you guys say? Also, the way you guys described the voice on our podcast, I did not understand that's what it was.
That it was commanding people to do things.
Well, like it was a commanding. Yeah, I thought it was like one person had a voice or something.
It is the Jedi mind tricks, right? Like, it is full out, Jedi.
Yeah, that makes more sense now that I saw it.
Yeah.
Like you said all that, I just didn't listen good.
That's funny.
I'm still trying to process it, because I mean, some of us only watched it this morning, Eli. So now that you're analytical, you take over. Tell me. Where do we go now?
Did you have a favorite part?
So I didn't love that they killed Jason Momoa.
Oh, trust me, he'll be back.
Okay, well, don't ruin that. Jeez. All right. I liked they did a really good job in this movie, and a lot of movies don't do this, of teaching you about the character's backstory, so it made sense when he came to what's the word? Like decisions or problems. And so when he had to fight that Fremen guy at the end and he won, but like they were like, is he just toying with him? Like you knew he was going to win or like do really well because he was a really good fighter. You saw that. He was also like well versed in Fremen knowledge because he was always studying it like all the time. And so you got that backstory, even if you hadn't read the books. And then when he fights him, it's really terrifying because he's winning over and over and over again. And then he kills this guy for the first time, and you have to see that happen. So it's a growth for him. And that's when he becomes, I feel like, Fremen, right? Because he transitions from who he was to his calling, or as he sees it as his calling. And so that killing the guy was his, I'm not who I was anymore. I'm someone else. That section right there was probably my favorite part because it was really well done from the actor standpoint, from the writers, from like all the visual, the choreography, all of that was really well done to explain it in a beautiful way.
And that's the end of the film. Like you just love that climax at the end. Huh?
Well, that just like it was. I love animes because they do really, really good backstory and like character development. That was really good character development. It made sense. You saw him becoming fighting with who everyone wanted him to be. And also I left a note that like his dad should have Father of the Year award. And then his mom should have like worst Mother of the Year award. How they raised him. Like his dad's whole scene was like, dude, if you decide not to become like the leader of the house, you've already done everything I've wanted you to be. And that was my son. I'm like, oh my feels. Like if my dad had said that, whoo, lucky Paul. And then his mom was like, all right, wake up in the middle of the night, go talk to this lady and maybe die.
Well, I think I liked this portrayal of Jessica more than the book and more than the David Lynch version. And the reason is that in the book, we don't see anything of her in the hall. We just are told she's there. In the David Lynch version, she just seems uninvested in anything. Whereas here, I liked how it showed her just worried and afraid for her son because she knows what's happening. She's allowing it. She's agreed to it, but she is also still concerned.
She's torn apart. She's fighting with demons. Like there's two sides in her. She's a mother, but she's also Bene Gesserit, and she doesn't want to do either one poorly, but they're combating each other.
Yeah. So I did like that portrayal better.
And also in the movie, it seems like she's surprised that the Reverend Mother is there, and then it's like, oh no, that's what this means. And she already broke the rules, right? Yeah. So the Reverend Mother is already being gracious to her, that she's not, punishing her at all. She's just being like, all right, well, you had a son, so we're going to throw him into the program that all males die in.
Yeah.
And she knows if she tries to do anything, her and her son could die or worse.
But Jessica still chose to have a son. We talked about that in one of our episodes. She had a choice. She made it.
Yeah.
So you get to argue if she was a bad person for doing that or not. And
the reason is explained in the book is that the Duke wanted a son, right? And because she loved her, I guess not husband, but her paramour, I guess you would say, so much.
Oh yeah, they weren't married technically.
Yeah, they're not married. She chose to give him the son that he wanted instead of the daughter that the Bene Gesserit wanted.
Yeah, he doesn't marry her because he needs to leave that position open to unify houses.
Yeah.
And so he can't marry somebody who isn't part of another major house. That's just the thing of
rules.
It. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobility rules. Yeah. Okay, so we have been mentioning at the end of our episodes recently about the treasure room, how, as Aaron likes to describe it, in the floor we go deep into things, but in the treasure room we kind of go wide. And we wanted to give people who have never been in the treasure room a little bit of a sample. So going forward, we'll probably be putting in little bits and pieces here. So here is a small clip from the treasure room. We hope you enjoy it and are interested in learning more in there.
The Harkonnens, I had some questions about. I didn't really know they were a house. So they're just brutes. They're the orcs of Dune. Is that what
they're the orcs of Dune? That's accurate.
Yeah, the orcs of Dune. That's pretty good.
They're the brutes, and then that would make House Atreides the elves.
I don't know if they call them elves, but I mean, looking at the actor they chose for Paul, you could kind of get elf out of that.
But his dad's a human.
His dad's totally just a human. Yeah.
An honorable man, because like humans in D&D could like be the greatest or the worst. They've got some range.
Yeah,
they do.
How do the houses work? How many houses are there?
The reason, it was so bad that Jessica had a son was she was supposed to have a daughter, and that daughter was supposed to give birth to the Kwisatz Haderach.
Kwisatz Haderach, yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Wait, back up. Eli, say it again.
Kwisatz Haderach?
Joe, say it.
Kwisatz Haderach.
And then Eli, say it again.
No, you say it.
Quetzal Haderach.
There you go. Quetzal Haderach.
Oh, you think that I'm going to be ashamed? Heck no. Quetzal Haderach. Quetzar.
But
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl Haderach. So the Quetzal had a rack.
They did really good with their facial emotions, that you could tell there was something going on in their head. And they placed it pretty well within the book. These scenes, there are people having inner dialogue while these scenes are happening. And they placed that in there pretty well,
Like they're in each other's minds kind of thing?
No, it's their own thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
The Red Baron was great.
He's the one that got poisoned and didn't die.
Yeah. And
so what was his deal? Like why is he?
So he's the one who used to be in charge of Arrakis.
So he's the head of House Harkonnen.
Okay, so the Harkonians are a house. They were those brutes that were freaking terrifying at the beginning.
The Sarduku?
Yes.
Sardaukar, yeah. Not Count Dooku, but Sardaukar, yeah. Those guys, they come from the Harkonnens, but they're the Imperial Army.
Yeah.
They're like the special forces.
Yeah. So I guess the Red Baron, or the Baron, we did talk about him quite a bit in our episodes. So he, as we know, was given Arrakis to mine the spice. And like in the movie, it's kind of vague. Like when Rabban is angry that they're losing Arrakis, he's like, "Oh, everything we built, everything we've done, why are they taking it?" And the Baron, he says, the Emperor is a jealous man, right? And what he's referring to is Duke Leto, right? Aaron says, he's like the dad of the year. He's this awesome guy. You're not the only one who thinks that. Everybody thinks Duke Leto is awesome, including the political body that is the Landsraad. To the point that the Emperor is afraid for his political position because Duke Leto is so popular.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Emperor set up a plan with the Harkonnens to give Arrakis to the House Atreides so that the Harkonnens, with all of their armies and all of their wealth, could take it back by force and crush House Atreides.
But the Emperor is in the Bene Gesserit's pocket. The Bene Gesserit are the ones pulling the strings on this.
Yeah.
And part of it is the punishment for Jessica.
And what you're saying is you're quoting Ultron here, and Paul Atreides is like, I have no strings on me.
I have no strings on me.
So Jessica is protected because she's part of what they need to create the Messiah. And Paul is protected because he's part of that bloodline as well.
He might be the Messiah.
Yeah.
The Duke was just a really, really, really nice guy, and people apparently want to murder nice guys. Well, guess I'm going to be a jerk from now on.
I mean, there's
Hey, stop talking. I'm a jerk now. I yell at people. That's my...
You're far from the Red Baron at this point.
So and we did mention that the Red Baron is Jessica's father, right? Lady Jessica.
Yeah,
so we didn't mention the first part.
His bloodline is important.
Yeah, his bloodline was important to the Bene Gesserits, and so
the guy that looked like a Dungeon Roomba or like a slime from D&D is Jessica's
father.
Father. See, now I messed up. It's Jessica's father. Her mom had to have been literally like Aphrodite or something. Like to get like how
to get that.
How do you like normally when you add a negative to a positive, you get a negative, but somehow
but we did cover this in an episode. The reason he is so gross in the way he is that
power or something.
Jessica's mother gave him a disease on purpose. Right? The Bene Gesserit have the ability to suppress diseases in their body. And Lady Jessica's mother acquired a serious disease and suppressed it, except during her sexual activities with the Baron, because he was ruthless to her. And so she gave him that disease on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And he is described as a handsome man, like in the earlier ones before this event.
Okay. Well, he's definitely not one now. So that disease did its job.
It wrecks him physically. Yeah.
So he had something on his back, like the metal that lit up red. What was that?
So I think that is their hover system. That's how he floats around.
So he is so heavy he cannot support his own body weight. So I think that's the way they interpreted this technology, that he need some kind of anti-gravity assistance, whether hovering or whatever, to be able to move around.
So that wasn't written in, but this is how they decided to portray it. He
has to, like in the books, there is technology. He cannot. He's too fat to move on his own in the books.
So there's technology that moves him, and this is how they decided to visually display it.
Interpreted it. Yeah.
Okay. I understand the words that you have said.
How'd you like the little mouse?
It was adorable. I kept seeing it. He dreamed about it first, and then he saw it. Well, no, and then you see it, and then he saw it, and it was just why is it so significant? Apparently, I've seen memes about people who've read the books who get so excited about the mouse. Who have read the book asked me about the Mouse Deep. And so
the Mouse Deep, I like that. I like that spin on it. The Mouse Deep.
Yeah,
I like that.
They burrow deep.
So I don't know. The skin suits are built off of creatures that survive on Arrakis naturally, and so the Muad'Dib is one of the creatures they studied when they created their skin suits.
It's not built out of their skin suit, right? It's not.
No, it's still suits. I said skin suits. I meant still suits.
Okay, but they don't kill 600 mice per.
They're just.
I was worried. You confused me at the beginning. Let me process. Okay, continue.
But that's going to be Paul's Fremen name.
Mouse Deep.
Muad'Dib.
The Mouse Deep.
and Muad'Dib will become a word of power, if you will, and so it's just all tied in together.
It's basically their version of Fus Roda.
Except I don't know that word.
Is
Fus Roda is the yell you shout in Skyrim that makes people go flying.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Fus Roda.
Yes, you nerd.
Right? When you say it, Fus Roda, I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, but Fus Roda. There it is.
Just go flying backwards now. Joe, be careful with that.
And then so the scene after the Baron almost gets poisoned, and he's in the
well, he did get
juice.
Poisoned. He just didn't die from it.
Yeah. And
don't make it sound like Paul Atreides' dad didn't do something great. He did successfully poison him. The guy just had a backup plan.
Yeah. And he does take out everyone else in that room.
I'm just saying he died honorably. Don't say he failed to poison him. Okay, he was Father of the Year, died like a hero. He's a great man. Damn it.
But anyways, you know how he's in that no juice, and those people with the black eyes are pouring the
oil in there. Yeah, motor oil.
So those black eyes are usually put on Golas, or they're from the Talaxu, which is a race that or a sub-race of humans. They're the most different from humans there are, but
well, I think the navigators are the most different from humans. There are. Those guys are something else.
Well, those ones are like altered by spice. He's talking about like
genetically,
evolutionally. Yeah,
like they've isolated themselves for a long time.
So they've evolved completely differently, slightly.
Yeah. They'll play a deeper role later.
Okay, so the eyeballs that were being poured into that vat of motor oil,
those weren't eyeballs.
So the black eyes, you said?
Are the people pouring the motor oil in?
Yeah.
Oh, the black eyes is what those people are called?
No, the Talaxu.
And I just like how they introduced a bunch of stuff kind of slowly into it, you know.
So the Talaxu were.
I'll cover them another time.
Okay, they were the ones who were pouring that in there, and so they worked for that guy, basically.
Some of them, I mean, they're a whole planet of people.
You just made me more confused. All right, sweet, thanks. Here, let me explain something by giving you 40 questions and kind of answering the one thing. That wasn't helpful, and I just want to go on record and make sure you know it.
All right.
Confused. What was your favorite part of the movie? Joe, do you have one?
I just loved all the visuals, like the tech and everything. They just did a really, really good job.
Yeah. I put my couch like right next to the TV as I was watching it. I was like, I want to feel like I'm in the theater. So for those who don't know, the floor was going to the theater to watch Dune, and then I got COVID.
Yeah, Joe chose to not go.
It kind of ruined our plans, so that was a tragic moment. Yeah. So, but yeah, visually, I think they did a great job. It looks great, you know. Yeah, I guess I was too young in the 80s to know if David Lynch's was visually impressive for the time, and now looking at it, it doesn't look visually impressive to me. You know, so I don't have a good comparison there.
I see. Yeah. I think it's movie of the year. You know, I think it's going to win a bunch of awards. I think it's going to get high marks. 5 out of 5 from me.
You know, I think they have a great story. Like Dune is one of your all-time. It's not even top 100 sci-fi. It's top 10.
Oh,
you know, depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
You know, and so they have a great story they're working with. There are definitely challenges in the Dune story.
Okay,
I think they overcame, right? Which is dealing with all that heavy exposition and everything. And I think they did really well in not overwhelming the audience with that. Because like as our mom said, she says, I got it. I didn't feel lost, you know?
Well, so if they took a grain of salt out of our playbook, right? They started small. You know, they did an intro so people could understand, and now the next episode they'll dive deeper.
Yeah,
and they took it from smart people.
You know, like even Eli mentioned, he says, you know, the only time we even hear about harmonics is with sandworms, right? Like in the book, you know, that's the whole fight with Gurney and Paul Atreides leads right into the discussion of harmonics. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas they were like, you know what? You don't need harmonics for part 1. Let's save it for part 2.
And then like, as well as during the rescue of the crew from the spice harvester, the carryall, the balloon ship that comes and picks up the harvester, right? How the foot fails. In the book, they don't find the ship. It just goes missing. And then a few days later, they find it. And there's some rogue Harkonnens that stole the ship and killed the crew. And they're just like, let's not focus on that. It's too much of just a little side thing that happens. Let's just move on, you know? Right. And to be honest, my first time watching it through, I was like, this felt short.
This felt short. I did not have that same thought process.
How do we still have a lot more?
No, I say we wrap up here.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, if we have a lot more, let's do a two-parter. If you just have a little more, let's.
I think we could do a two-parter. I think we should do a two-parter. I say we stop here.
All right. Well, then, of course, thanks for listening. And we do want to welcome our newest supporter, Elijah, the red-bearded dragon. So,
thank you very much,
red-bearded dragon.
And
the red-bearded Viking dragon.
Viking dragon.
Yeah. After this, we're going to jump in the treasure room, and if you want to join us in the treasure room, hit us on Patreon.
What do we do there?
You want to join? Go ahead, Joe.
So the treasure room is we are just going to dive a little deeper and be a little looser. Like a lot of times here, we have notes that we're consulting. Really keeps us on focus and task. But in the treasure room, right, we go a little off script, which lets us really bring in other worlds. We can connect more of Star Wars to Dune, more of Dune to Terminator. We can dive deeper and we can chase these really interesting tangents that might be a little off topic.
I would say we dive wider. I wouldn't say we dive deeper. We dive deep in our wider. Well, yeah, because we don't go as deep. We just.
I think you're right. Yeah, we dive wider.
We dive wider in the treasure room. Yeah, we dive deeper in the episodes. So you want that depth and width when you listen to the floor. So make sure you get both.
Thanks for listening.
Leave us a review. Tell us why you like listening to us. Is it our awesome deep dives? Is it our amazing back and forth? Is it our charming good looks?
What would you like us to add or change? You can put that in the review as well. We read reviews.
Yeah, and if you're going to be leaving us a review telling us what you like about it, maybe you even want to share the content with your friends. Like and share on social media. You can join us on Twitter and Facebook. We post memes. And we actually started a Discord, so come play with us.
So a lot of the worlds we cover have a retcon. If you're not familiar with that term, it's reconstruction. Or sometimes we might use a bad source for some of our lore research. And if that happens, feel free to email us at floorfantasyandlore@gmail.com. That is floor spelled FLORE, fantasyandlore@gmail.com. And if you're angry enough, we'll read it on the air.
Yes, we will. Also, the treasure room is now available. We have locked a few secrets for everything we cover in there. And each week, we add more.
And you can find the treasure room on patreon.com/floor fantasy and lore. And how do you spell that, Aaron?
That's lore with an F at the beginning. So it sounds like floor, but it's not the floor you're thinking because it's our floor.
We hope you enjoyed your time on the floor. Think about your favorite part of the episode. Now think about your nerdiest friend. Who is it? What is their name? They want to know about the floor. Stop holding out on them. Go and tell them about your favorite part.
Because all of this is more fun together.